On a quiet Thursday morning in May 2026, the NASCAR world awoke to devastating news. One of the most accomplished and recognizable drivers in the history of stock car racing was gone. Kyle Busch, a two-time NASCAR Cup Series champion and one of the sport's most successful competitors, died at the age of 41. The announcement sent shockwaves through the racing community. Fans, fellow drivers, team owners, and industry veterans struggled to process the loss. Less than 24 hours earlier, Busch had been carrying out what seemed like a routine part of his professional life. He had visited a Chevrolet simulator facility in Concord, North Carolina, preparing for future races and continuing the relentless pursuit that had defined his career. No one could have imagined that it would be one of the final days of his life. On the afternoon of May 20th, Busch arrived at the General Motors Charlotte Technical Center, where he was scheduled to test a Chevrolet driving simulator. It was a familiar environment for a veteran driver who had spent decades chasing every possible competitive advantage. Everything appeared normal until early evening. At approximately 5:30 p.m., employees inside the facility discovered Busch collapsed on a bathroom floor. He was conscious but struggling to breathe. Witnesses reported that he appeared severely distressed and was coughing up blood. Emergency services were called immediately, and paramedics rushed him to a nearby hospital in the Charlotte area. Doctors quickly diagnosed a serious and rapidly advancing condition. Busch was suffering from severe pneumonia, affecting both lungs. The infection had already spread into his bloodstream, triggering sepsis, one of the most dangerous complications a patient can face. Sepsis occurs when the body's immune response spirals out of control, causing widespread inflammation and damage to vital organs. Even with aggressive medical treatment, the condition can become fatal in a matter of hours. Medical teams worked throughout the night in an effort to stabilize him. Despite every intervention available, the infection proved overwhelming. Early the next morning, Kyle Busch passed away. His family later released a statement confirming that severe pneumonia and subsequent complications had caused his death. They requested privacy as they mourned a loss that few could comprehend. In the days following his passing, many began looking back at Busch's final public appearances and interviews. There were signs that something was wrong. Nearly 2 weeks before his death, Busch had competed at Watkins Glen. Following the race, he was heard on team radio requesting medical assistance, mentioning that he had been battling what was believed to be a severe sinus infection or cold. Despite feeling ill, he continued racing. That determination had always been part of who he was. Throughout his career, Busch earned a reputation as one of NASCAR's toughest competitors. Pain, discomfort, and adversity rarely kept him away from the track. 5 days before his death, he competed in a Truck Series event at Dover Motor Speedway. Although still under the weather, Busch drove brilliantly and captured another victory. It would become the final win of his remarkable career. The triumph was his 234th victory across NASCAR's top 3 national divisions, a total unmatched by any driver in the sport's history. Standing in victory lane, Busch offered comments that would later take on heartbreaking significance. He told reporters that every victory should be cherished because no one ever truly knows when their last one will come. At the time, it sounded like the reflection of a veteran racer. In hindsight, those words feel almost prophetic. After his Dover victory, Busch continued with his normal schedule. He admitted during interviews that he was still battling a substantial cough, but few people viewed it as a serious concern. Professional athletes often compete through illness, and Busch had done so countless times before. On May 17th, he climbed into his Cup Series car for what would unknowingly become the final NASCAR race of his life. He finished 17th. No dramatic farewell followed. There were no retirement speeches, no farewell tours, and no indication that the sport was witnessing the final competitive laps of one of its greatest champions. The next day, Busch shifted his focus to family. His son Brexton was celebrating his 11th birthday. Like many proud fathers, Kyle shared a heartfelt message expressing his love and pride. His wife Samantha posted a tribute of her own, describing him as an extraordinary husband and father. 48 hours later, everything changed. Kyle Busch's success extended far beyond the racetrack. By the time of his death, his estimated wealth approached $80 million. He had built a business empire alongside his racing career, demonstrating the same ambition off the track that fueled his competitive success on it. His NASCAR salary alone placed him among the highest-paid drivers in the sport. He owned multiple properties, including an impressive Lake Norman estate and a sprawling North Carolina property featuring extensive acreage and custom racing facilities. Busch also invested in automotive businesses, including Chevrolet dealerships, and maintained a collection of rare and valuable vehicles. Among the prized possessions in his garage was a Lexus LFA valued at approximately $2 million, parked alongside championship-winning race cars that symbolized some of the greatest moments of his career. Yet despite the wealth and success, those closest to him would later emphasize that the true loss had nothing to do with money. For Samantha Brexton and daughter Lennox, the pain centered on the future that would never arrive, the vacations not taken, the milestones not witnessed, the conversations that would never happen, the dreams that remained unfinished. Long before championship celebrations and business ventures, Kyle Busch met Samantha in 2007. At the time, Samantha was a psychology student attending Purdue University. She was working at a Chevrolet promotional event when their paths crossed. Their relationship developed gradually, eventually leading to marriage on New Year's Eve in 2010. What many fans did not realize was how much adversity the couple faced behind closed doors. For years, they struggled with infertility. The emotional toll was immense. Samantha underwent multiple fertility treatments, endured miscarriages, and navigated repeated heartbreak. In later interviews, she openly discussed the strain those experiences placed on both her emotional well-being and their marriage. Throughout those difficult years, she frequently described Kyle as her source of strength. When hope seemed impossible, he remained beside her. Their perseverance was rewarded in May 2015 when their son Brexton was born. The timing felt almost magical. That same year, Kyle captured his first NASCAR Cup Series championship. For the Busch family, 2015 became a year of miracles. Inspired by their journey, Samantha later established a Bundle of Joy Fund, an organization dedicated to helping families afford fertility treatments. Through the charity, more than 100 families received assistance in pursuing their dreams of parenthood. Years later, after additional fertility challenges and setbacks, the couple welcomed daughter Lennox through surrogacy. Their family finally felt complete. Tragically, they would have far less time together than anyone expected. Among Kyle Busch's greatest sources of pride was his son Brexton. From an early age, Brexton displayed extraordinary talent behind the wheel. Kyle introduced him to racing as a young child, and the results quickly captured attention throughout the motorsports community. By age 5, Brexton was already competing. By his preteen years, he had accumulated dozens of victories and multiple championships in youth racing categories. His success attracted national attention, with many observers viewing him as one of the brightest young prospects in grassroots motorsports. Kyle actively guided his son's development. He frequently discussed long-term plans, outlining a path through late models and eventually into NASCAR's upper divisions. Like any racing father, he dreamed of watching his child achieve greatness. Those dreams now carry a different meaning. In one of the most emotional gestures following Busch's death, Richard Childress Racing announced that the iconic number 8 would be temporarily retired. The organization stated that the number would remain reserved for a future day when Brexton might be ready to pursue his own NASCAR career. Whether that day arrives remains unknown, but the symbolism was impossible to miss. A father had spent years building a path. Now others hoped to preserve it. Busch was never content with simply driving race cars. He wanted to build organizations, develop talent, and leave a lasting impact on the sport. In 2010, he founded Kyle Busch Motorsports, a team that became one of the most successful operations in Truck Series history. The organization won more than 100 races and helped launch the careers of numerous future NASCAR stars. Drivers such as Eric Jones, Christopher Bell, William Byron, and Bubba Wallace all benefited from opportunities created within Busch's program. His influence extended far beyond his own accomplishments. He helped shape the next generation. Yet success in motorsports often requires difficult decisions. Following his move to Richard Childress Racing and Chevrolet, Busch eventually sold Kyle Busch Motorsports to Spire Motorsports. The transaction included facilities, manufacturing assets, and years of infrastructure that he had painstakingly built. It was a major business decision, but one that reflected his willingness to adapt and evolve. At the same time, he faced setbacks. His energy drink company, Rowdy Energy, ceased operations after several years of growth and national distribution. Rather than dwell on disappointment, Busch publicly emphasized the importance of focusing on family and racing. That perspective revealed a more mature side of a driver who had once been known primarily for his fiery competitiveness. Despite his long list of accomplishments, there was one ambition Busch never fully realized. He wanted to race in the Indianapolis 500. For years, opportunities emerged and disappeared. Potential partnerships nearly materialized before collapsing due to funding issues, contractual complications, or timing. Several times, Busch came remarkably close, yet the opportunity never arrived. The Indianapolis 500 remained unfinished business. Many fans viewed it as one of the greatest what-if stories in modern motorsports. Could one of NASCAR's greatest drivers have conquered open-wheel racing's most famous event? Sadly, the question will never be answered. Memorial Day weekend in 2026 should have been another celebration of motorsports. Instead, it became a farewell. At Indianapolis, race officials honored Busch with a moving tribute. The giant scoring pylon displayed his name and life dates. Spectators observed a moment of silence, reflecting on the impact he had made across racing. Hours later, attention shifted to Charlotte and the Coca-Cola 600. Everywhere fans looked, reminders of Kyle Busch appeared. Cars carried commemorative decals. Drivers paid tribute through interviews and social media posts. A front row starting position was intentionally left empty as part of a symbolic missing man formation. During the race, thousands of spectators raised 8 fingers into the air, honoring the number associated with Busch's final NASCAR chapter. Family members stood together as the sport mourned collectively. One of the most emotional moments occurred when Kyle's brother, Kurt Busch, approached a memorial display and laid white roses beside the painted number 8.